Yes.
משה, לך, מיקרופון.
תגיד מישהו רוצה?
כן.
מה זה?
אין לי, אני שם עיני, כי אין לי איך להשיג את השיר.
נכון?
יש לו את הרשימה פשוט.
תהיה בשיר, יש רק שהם ידעו, ואנחנו פשוט ננהל את זה.
Frank, tell us here to move forward, but they'll be kind to take pictures.
Yeah, גם לי אין.
Okay, we're gonna start.
אוקיי.
Hey.
אחת, שניים.
Good.
לא רואה שמדי, אבל אני רוצה שלא יהיו אנשים מאחוריו בפרנק. Okay, thank you everyone. Before we start, just a quick reminder again, because I think there was some unclarity. Please do not film the people who are at work at the crossing. We want to make sure that we can show you as much as we can, but please do not film them. Do not film the weapons that they are holding and so on. Thank you very much. We'll now have a briefing by Colonel Elad Goen, the head of the Civil Department at Kogat. After that, we will go look over into the Gazan side of the crossing, and then we'll have time for you to take photos, do whatever you, get whatever footage you need. If you would like an interview, Shir and Tia over there who are raising their hands, please reach out to them and tell them that you would like an interview, and we will try and make sure that everyone who would like one will get one-on-one time either with the Colonel or with myself. Colonel Goren, the floor is yours.
לא.
Hey guy.
עשית לנו... תסדר את הבום בחזרה.
That's a microphone wall. Yeah? Okay. So good morning everyone. There has been much talk over the last few weeks regarding the amount of humanitarian aid that makes its way into Gaza, especially to the northern side of Gaza Strip. And so today I would like to present our assessment on the humanitarian situation in Gaza right now and share along with you our latest humanitarian efforts. But before we dive in, I want to emphasize a critical point. Israel is doing everything, and I mean everything it can, to mitigate the humanitarian consequences of Hamas's action in the Gaza Strip. We work closely with the international community to ensure that humanitarian aid reaches the people of Gaza, and we have placed no limit on the amount of aid that can enter into Gaza. It's important to remember that this war started because Hamas attacked Israel on October 7, and that every day since, Hamas has proven that it doesn't care about civilians, not on the Israeli side and not on the Gazan side of the border. That is why they steal aid. That is why they try to use ambulances to transfer arms and terrorists, and that is why they embed themselves within the civilian population. Hamas wants to cause humanitarian crisis. Israel, on the other hand, is doing everything it can to prevent one. Of course, there are challenges. We acknowledge that. But we are going to great length to minimize the impact of this war on the civilian population. It is not easy. It is complicated, but it is our policy. At the beginning of the war, we set up several mechanisms for continuous assessment of the humanitarian situation inside Gaza Strip. There is a team in place that closely monitors the situation on the ground, focusing, among others, on water, food, access to health care and shelters. Every day we hold regular meetings with members from UN agencies, from the United States and from Egypt and other international organizations to understand the situation on the ground and assess what is needed to be prioritized. Our ongoing monitoring of humanitarian situation and our continuous dialogue with the organizations allows us to identify problems before they arise and address them as soon as possible. In terms of situation on the ground today, access to food remains stable in the south and center of Gaza Strip. There is also food making its way to the north. However, we would like to see more distribution here, and I will touch on that just in a moment. However, there has been a particular focus on the amount of food entering Gaza, so I would like to share with you a few numbers for this regards. Before the war, there was an average of 70 trucks carrying food entering Gaza every day. The average since the beginning of March is around 110 food trucks. Israel continues to increase the amount of food entering to the Strip. For the last 2 weeks, the average has been 230 trucks every day. There are now around 20 bakeries operating in the Gaza Strip, generating around 2 million pita breads every day. Many of these are WFP bakeries, which we encourage them to open, and we will facilitate the entry of supplies for them to be operated. Since the beginning of the war, out of the over 16,000 trucks of humanitarian aid that have entered the Gaza Strip, over 9,500 were carrying more than 200,000 tons of food. It is important to note here, we do not place a limit on the amount of aid or food that can enter the Gaza Strip. In fact, we have made great efforts to ensure that we can inspect many more trucks, and we encourage the international community to bring more, and we will deliver. We started with performing security inspections in Nitzana. We then added here in Kerem Shalom as well. In both crossings, we added manpower, extended working hours, and purchased additional scanning equipment. All of these improvements have brought us to a point where today we can inspect 44 trucks per hour in both crossings combined. It is also important to note that almost 99% of trucks that go into inspection are approved. 99%. And you can check us on those numbers. The trucks that are rejected are sent back for repackaging because they contain unimprovement materials that Hamas can use for their terrorist activities. In other words, Israel is not standing in the way of additional humanitarian aid reaching the people of Gaza. However, not far from here, on the Gazan side of the crossings, and you can see it by your own eyes, you will see humanitarian aid waiting to be picked up and distributed. This is not a rare scene. Often, there is hundreds of trucks worth of aid waiting on the Gazan side to be picked up. That is the biggest obstacle to aid reaching Gaza in need. The international organizations do not have the capacity and have yet to take real steps to improve that capacity to distribute the humanitarian aid through the Gaza Strip, including the north. The issue is not with our inspection. but with the distribution capabilities of the international organizations. There are several steps that they can take in order to increase the amount of aid reaches to the people of Gaza. The organizations desperately need better work process, more facilities, more trucks. They also need an additional manpower and to increase working hours. They are not working at night. All of these will have a direct impact of the amount of aid that reaches the people of Gaza. The international organizations rightfully mentioned that there are challenges that come with delivering aid in combat zone. That's true. However, it is important to remember two things here. One, this is not the only war zone where humanitarian aid needs to be delivered, and just as I adjusted and we adjusted in other places, and they adjusted also in other places, they need to adjust here in Gaza. Two, understanding the importance of making sure that aid can reach anywhere and everyone that is needed, including the north, Israel has opened humanitarian corridors and we coordinate movement requests on a daily basis. We coordinated and approved more than 90% of the UN requests. Israel also announced daily tactical pauses that allows Gazans to go out and collect the aid. Again, doing everything that we can to make sure that aid reaches to the people of Gaza wherever they are. It is up to the organizations to coordinate their movements with Israel, and unfortunately, they don't do this often enough. In February, only around 25% of the trucks that were coordinated to get to the northern side of Gaza Strip were UN trucks. The others were private contractors, private sector. Since the beginning of March, that number has been closer to 8% of the goods that are delivered to the northern side of Gaza Strip are UN trucks. The others are private sector. If the UN wants to see more aid reaches to the northern Gaza, they need to coordinate more convoys. As simple as that. We do not limit the amount of convoys that can go to the northern side of Gaza Strip. Although the responsibility for distributing the aid, it is on the international organizations, as Israel wants to see more aid reaching the northern side of Gaza Strip, we have been working with our partners to facilitate additional aid to the north. For example, as I mentioned, we coordinate private sector convoys to deliver aid to the north, and we have facilitated over 35 airdrops of aid. On Thursday evening, following directives from the Israeli government, 6 aid trucks entered the northern side of Gaza Strip via crossing 96 as part of the experimental initiatives aimed to prevent Hamas from seizing control of the aid. The trucks carrying aid provided by the WFP underwent through the security scanning here at Kerem Shalom. We are also examining additional measures with our partners to ensure that the distribution bottlenecks created by the international organization does not stand in the way of more aid reaching wherever it needed. And that's because we understand that our war is with Hamas and not the people of Gaza. I will take the question now.
So we'll take one or two questions here because we want to make sure that we have time to show you the next part of the crossing as well. So we'll take one or two here. Yeah.
Hi, Miriam Berger with the Washington Post. Can you elaborate on who our partners are when it comes to coordinating aid into northern Gaza? What specific companies, what Palestinian families or business people are you working with? And also, how many times have your forces opened fire on civilians gathering to get aid at Koidi or Nablus roundabout in the north? And I mean both in terms of from armed drones, from snipers, or from artillery being fired.
our partners, our main partners, there are two answers for that. One, we have quad meeting every night, 8 p.m. in my office actually, with the Americans, with the UN organizations, not UNRWA, UN organizations and the Egyptians. And those are the main partners. There are also NGOs and other states like the UAE that we are cooperating, and we want to encourage them to do more. Regarding the civilians, the IDF is not opening fire against civilians, period. We are opening fire against threats. And civilians that are going to take food, they are not a threat. So we are not engaging fire against them.
So just to change that, from your perspective, how many times have you opened fire against threats of the Kuwaiti?
The operational questions like that are not for the colonel, that's for the IDF spokesperson. So take one more before we move on. Yeah.
You mentioned the 6 trucks that went in recently, and in general, we see that the trucks go in and then all the food is looted. So how do you prevent that?
Thank you for that, that's important. For the last 5 months, the UN refuses to go up north. The ones that are going north are just private sector. And we want to encourage the UN to do more. Not to send 6 trucks, to send 60 trucks. And if they will do so, we won't see the pictures that you saw.
Great, so we're going to move to C and then there'll be time for questions later. Colonel will be following as well.
Same conditions regarding what you can take pictures of. Just please remember taking pictures of the soldiers. For the security people. And if those of you who wanted to get private interviews, sign up with what
הוא סיים. אוקיי, אז הוא סיים, אני אומר לך. אני עכשיו מנתק את המיקרופון. סיימנו עם הלייב, כן. אלא אם כן, אתה רוצה שאני אלך עם כל העיתונאים וימשיך את הלייב, אתה מבין? או שאני אתן לך תמונות שכבר צילמתי. לראות מסעיות או משהו כזה. אבל יש לי חומרים ממש טובים, שרואים גם אונר"א, גם דגל ישראל. זה יכול לעזור לעריכה, ואז אני אתן לך אקסטרה מזה.
גם אני שונא לרדוף.
מה? לא יודע, כאילו...